Well, welcome to another edition of Entrepreneurial Stories brought to you by Arizona State University and its many entrepreneurial programs. I'm very excited today to welcome to Entrepreneurial Stories Jonathan Robertson, who is the Chief Operating Officer of the Navajo Housing Authority and one of the team of people that are starting up an entrepreneurial venture on the nation called Navajo FlexCrete. In fact, Jonathan has been recently given the primary charge to take over the startup and make the startup of Navajo FlexCrete a success. Welcome to our show, Jonathan.
Oh, thank you, Dan. Glad to be here. I think that the experience that we've had thus far has been pretty fruitful, and so I'm glad to be here.
Great. So tell us a little bit about Navajo FlexCrete. What is it and where does it stand?
Navajo FlexCrete is primarily a building materials company that the Navajo Housing Authority invested about $7.1 million in so far. And the materials building industry itself is a green building industry. Is actually slated to be a $38 billion industry in the next 10 years or so. And so based on that, I think the Navajo Housing Authority had some forethought, some vision to really invest in this building materials, which basically uses recycled material, fly ash. It's a byproduct of the coal burning industry, and we have a coal burning plant there located in Page, Arizona, and so the byproduct is readily available and very close. It's within 10 miles of the plant itself, and so I think the Housing Authority had the forethought to locate that pretty close by. Beside it being a good investment, really, the Housing Authority has a continual construction backlog, if you will, or a construction charge of about 500 homes annually a year. And so moving in that direction, finding a source that we could rely on and also bring down the cost of construction was something that the Housing Authority really wanted to take upon themselves. And so this was sort of a combined effort and looking ahead as a visionary approach to tackling some of the challenges that the Navajo Nation has itself from the resource standpoint and supply standpoint, but also a vision of moving into the entrepreneurial section as well too. So we've got some of those homes that are up there in San Domingo, Pueblo, New Mexico. So the TDHE is primarily where we want to focus on, but we have built other demonstration homes in association with the Arizona State Stardust Center, Arizona State University Stardust Center. Daniel Glenn, who's the design director for that organization, had been collaborating with the Navajo Housing Authority to build 2 homes, one in Iezi, which was the first model FlexCrete home that was actually built out of FlexCrete. And so that home was built primarily for a residence, Augustine family up there in the Iezi, New Mexico area. Primarily through donations and FlexCrete donating the block material to that and some labor as well too. And ASU Stardust Center is actually monitoring that home for the energy efficiencies of the block and is reporting back some real good is collecting some fairly good data that reinforces what we said earlier, the energy efficiencies of the block and the construction as well too. So it's really exciting. The other one they built was the Guadalupe home here in Tempe, Arizona, and so that again we donated the material as well as some labor to that construction project that was located here in the town of Guadalupe. That project is also garnering a fair amount of publicity as well as attention in terms of being a demonstration home built here in the valley as well too.
Well, continuing along the lines of sustainability, but tell me about your own kind of personal views of sustainability and is that a major reason why you're interested in the Navajo FlexCrete venture and just the Navajo Nation's kind of approach to sustainability?
Well, I think I got started early on in that field. I'm a landscape architect by trade. I went to the University of Arizona, the School of Landscape Architecture, and my background is in design. And as a landscape architect, we practice and preach the idea of stewardship of the earth and environment. And so from that standpoint, I already had a kinship to that, aside from my own culture, my Navajo background as well too. We have a saying, walk in beauty, Hajoga Adikath, you know. I'm not too fluent in Navajo, so I probably butchered that, but you know, the idea is that we walk in beauty, meaning that we try to tread lightly upon the earth and walk in harmony and balance with the earth as well too. So that goes along with my culture, and just recently saw the connections as to how my own profession connected with my culture, and I really found FlexCrete in a roundabout way. Basically, was working with the Navajo Housing Authority in the hopes of bringing about a more sustainable developments with the communities that we're putting out there with the Navajo Housing Authority. As a planner and a landscape architect, my charge really was to bring master plan communities, sustainable communities, to the Navajo Nation in that regard. And so my experience with that just sort of dovetailed into the Navajo FlexCrete realm, and saw that this was something they had already invested in, and so naturally my interest started to move towards that direction, and really became more involved with the product, and really just fell in love with the whole idea of us, the Navajo Nation, Navajo Housing Authority, and myself really perpetuating this idea of sustainability, not just from a planning standpoint, but also from a material standpoint, and from the economic standpoint as well too, from our culture, and you know, just being able to feed back the resources back into the local communities, as well as, you know, just see the impacts of what the construction can do as well too. So it's really multifaceted in how I came to become part of Navajo FlexCrete.
So that kind of led you to lead the entrepreneurial life, so you know, so to speak. So what do you think about the entrepreneurial life so far?
It's definitely a growth experience. If you're contemplating definitely moving into being an entrepreneur, one thing I can definitely say is it's going to keep you on your toes, and it's going to force you to grow in so many ways. So it's if you basically look for something like that, it's interesting. It's always pliable, and it's always something that's growing. It's somewhat of an amoeba, but at the same time, I think if you have the foresight, you can keep it corralled and move in a certain direction. But you always need to be prepared for things that come at you.
Yeah. So, if an aspiring entrepreneur looked to you for some advice, what kinds of things would you say to a young aspiring entrepreneur?
Go with your gut instinct and really stay true to what you think the vision is. I mean, like I said, I think the one thing I've learned is that you're going to have to expect the unexpected and learn to grow with it. And that's the thing that I'm really starting to see, is that be pliable and learn to grow. And that's really the one thing I've taken from it so far. And I think that the vision that you have, you're just going to have to stick to your vision, because ultimately, if you're an entrepreneur, you're the ultimate guiding force, and you really want to make sure that you have that vision instilled and take it to the forefront. You know, I think to be a pioneer, you have to really make a path for yourself. That's ultimately what I've learned so far. So,
well, before we sign off, is there anything else you'd like to tell folks that are watching?
No, not too much. I think the things that I've seen so far in the business world, in the entrepreneurial setting, I definitely learned through this experience with Navajo FlexCrete and NHA has been the relationships, really. And that's one thing I did rely on previously in my consulting background, is really building and fostering relationships really have been the keys to expanding a business setting, a business, or growing a business. And so much like we've built a relationship with the Arizona State University, I think that different segments of it, like the Stardust Center, Arizona Technopolis, School of Construction, Del Webb School of Construction, and all the different aspects of it that we've grown in our business through and have developed relationships with, are helping us in so many different ways with the Navajo Housing Authority, with Navajo FlexCrete. It's also actually expanding into the Navajo Nation itself. Just because of our relationships, Navajo Nation's coming to the table. So I think, just sharing that, I think that, just pay attention to relationships and building and fostering that.
Well, I can tell you that we've thoroughly enjoyed the relationship. It's been a lot of fun working with the nation and with the Housing Authority and with Navajo FlexCrete. It's a very exciting business, and we wish you the best of luck going forward in the future. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right.